Hello, everybody. This is Charles, and this is Chapter 8 of Going Home. Chapter 7 was a little more eventful. Myrtle had to pee, and when they stopped, they spotted something suspicious, and sure enough, they rescued a young girl from a human trafficking ring. So, Chapter 8 is the aftermath of that. So, what happens next? Stay tuned. Chapter 8. It didn't take long for the local media to catch wind of what was going on at the truck stop, and eventually reporters from network affiliates in La Crosse and Eau Claire began showing up to do pieces for the evening news. Before they arrived, the police had time to conduct their own interviews of the rescued victim and to contact her closest relatives to arrange for transportation back home, the next available direct flight from Minneapolis. Officer Jones had found two cell phones, a laptop, and a tablet in the Winnebago, and the information contained on these devices would, in the coming weeks, when shared with federal authorities, help bring down one of the largest trafficking operations in the country, resulting in the rescue of hundreds of young girls. Myrtle was glad enough to accept Cassie's thanks, but when the reporters arrived later, it all became a bit too much. She wasn't sure if she should be called a hero, but each reporter was using that language. She did what anyone would have done in her situation. She saw someone in trouble and she called the police. How often did people do that every day? She happened to be in the right place at the right time, all because of her bladder. If not for that, they would not have stopped. Maybe it was destiny, or divine providence, or dumb luck, but she had been there. Maybe the Lord just saw fit to use her that day, and for that she felt grateful and humbled. Maybe someone else would have done the same thing. Either way, this girl was going back to her family, and the lowlife who was exploiting her was going to jail. All in all, that made for a pretty good day. A young reporter was currently speaking on camera, preparing opening remarks for her piece that would air on the local news that evening. She had been told the reporter would be wanting to get some remarks from her as well, and sure enough, she was coming over with a microphone. I'm here with Myrtle Callahan, a woman many are calling a hero. Mrs. Callahan, can you tell us what happened here this afternoon? Well, it started because I had to pee. I asked Nathan to take the next exit, and this is where he stopped. I went in to use the restroom, and Nathan went in when I came back to the car. We were parked next to the RV right over there. I saw that young girl peeking out the window, and she looked right scared. I just did what anyone else would have done in my shoes. I saw someone in need, and I called someone to help. You would have done the same, I'm sure. Well, I can speak for myself and most of our viewers and say that we're glad you were on the spot to do what you did. With that, she motioned for the cameraman to cut recording, and he went to put the camera away for the trip back to the station. The reporter approached Myrtle and said, We're off camera now, so you're traveling with your grandson. Where are you guys headed? We're going to California. Nathan lives out there, and I'm moving in with him. And you're driving all the way out there? Yeah, I don't handle flying too well. Where did you start from? We started in New Jersey. I just lost my husband, and I'm selling my house and moving in with Nathan. We're going to take the scenic route. Wow, I'd actually love to do that one of these days. Well, Mrs. Callahan, just call me Myrtle. Okay, Myrtle, it's been a pleasure meeting you. So are you guys going to continue on now? I don't know. We were going to go to that mall in Minneapolis, but maybe we'll stay here and go there in the morning. This scene was repeated 3 more times with reporters from the other network affiliates, and by the time the last reporter left, Myrtle was worn out and there was no question of continuing on. Nathan led her inside where they went into the driver's lounge in the truck stop and sat down wearily in 2 chairs. There were 4 truckers in there watching TV, and Nate asked one of them, You fellows don't mind if we sit down here for a bit and rest? No problem, said the trucker. Room's hardly ever full here. Another man came in just then and asked Myrtle, Excuse me, you the lady who nabbed the kidnapper? The police nabbed him. All I did was make a phone call. You are far too humble, ma'am. I don't know if I would have noticed anything wrong. If you had seen that poor girl's face, well, maybe. Anyway, name's Thomas. I'm the manager at a Comfort Inn over at the other side of the highway. The girl's staying there tonight, no direct flights till tomorrow. We got a nice room waiting for you if you want, all in the house. You can stay as long as you want until you continue on your way. That's too kind. You don't have to. Yes, we do have to. It's our way of saying thanks. We're never booked full anyway. Just come on over when you're ready. Nathan would have loved to go over to the room right then, his limit of social interaction having been reached long ago. But that wasn't to be. When the truckers who knew what had happened earlier learned who they were subjected to another round of congratulations and even a couple heartfelt hugs. The last trucker, a large man on the north side of 250 pounds with a full beard, shoulder-length hair, a t-shirt that was about a size too small to adequately cover his protruding paunch, and two massive tattooed covered arms, approached Myrtle and gave her a hug that nearly took the breath out of her. He handed his phone to one of the other men and said, "Jerry, care to grab some shots for me?" He then positioned himself between Myrtle and Nathan, put one massive arm around each one of them, and pulled them closer to himself. "Y'all don't mind getting a couple photos with me, do you?" "Not at all," replied Myrtle. Jerry snapped a couple photos and a couple more of Nathan and Myrtle by themselves, and the large man then approached and handing Myrtle a business card said, "Richard Washington's the name. I'm with the organization on the card." Myrtle looked at the card and read, "Truckers Against Trafficking." Richard said, "A lot of truckers are part of our group. We always try to keep an eye out for situations like you came across today. A few trafficking rings have been stopped by observant truckers. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind me getting your story for our website, and if we could use your photo. A lot of folks would love to read your story." "I guess that would be okay," replied Myrtle. "Great. You tell me what happened," he said as he took a small digital recorder out of his pocket and started it. Myrtle recounted the story again, starting from when they pulled off the exit to when the police arrived and took the suspect into custody. When she was done, Richard shut off the recorder, thanked her for letting him share her story, and went immediately back to his seat to email the photos and audio file to someone who would put it all together. Myrtle sat back down, only to feel a tap on her elbow. When she turned, she saw the same face she had seen looking out the window of the RV. The face belonged to a petite black girl with a shy smile. She was really quite pretty now that she had been able to take a shower and wasn't as terrified. When Myrtle looked at her, she first looked down at the floor and then looked back at Myrtle as if unsure of what to say. "I'm Cassie," she said in a soft voice. "I'm mighty grateful." She then looked shyly down at the ground again, and Myrtle said to her, "That was awfully brave of you, trying to get our attention like that." "Yes, ma'am. I'm glad you noticed. Talked to my mama a minute ago. She wants me to thank you, too. We're both most thankful," Cassie managed to say before the tears came again. She fought back the tears and then reached out and embraced Myrtle. Myrtle just put her arms around Cassie's small frame and said, "There, child, you're safe now. That man's never going to hurt you again. He'll never hurt anyone again." By this time, they were both crying, and finally, when Cassie stepped back, she noticed Nathan standing a couple feet away and offered him her hand. They shook hands. She thanked Nathan, and all he could think to say was, "You're welcome. Heard the officer say you're flying back to California. What part you from?" "I live near Long Beach." "You going back to school when you get back?" "I just got out of high school. Can't afford college yet. I've been waitressing to save up the money. I want to go to college. None of my family's ever been to college." "Well, Cassie, I wish you luck. I'm glad we could be here to help." "Yeah, I am too. Well, the officer's going to take me to the motel now. Thank you." They sat back down for a few minutes, and Nathan finally said, "You know what I could use right now? A good hamburger." One of the truckers replied, "Culver's across the street there. Pretty good burgers. It's on me." Think I can ride over there with you? Can't park the truck over there. Nathan looked at Myrtle and she nodded her head. He replied to the trucker, "Ready when you are." On the way out to the car, Myrtle spotted a rack of greeting cards, purchased one, and 5 minutes later the three of them were sitting in Culver's waiting for their food. The trucker said, "Man, I'm so rude, didn't give you my name. I'm Mac. Mac Turner." "Nathan Callahan, where are you from, Mac?" asked Nathan. "When I'm home, which isn't often enough, I have a little house in Ohio. A little town you probably never heard of. Try me. Ever hear of Carlisle?" "Sure. I grew up not too far south of there in Woodlawn. I lived there until I was 14 and I moved in with Grandma when my parents died." "You said Woodlawn?" "Yeah, why?" "What year was that?" 2002. My parents were killed by a drunk driver. I was only 14 at the time." "Man, we were practically neighbors. I was 18 then. We lived in Sharonville. I moved out the next year. Weird that we never met." "Yeah, weird." Their food was ready, and they spent the next few minutes eating and speaking little except for Nathan saying, "Man, this is a pretty good burger. Wish we had this place where I live." They finished eating, refilled their drinks, and resumed their conversation. "So, Nathan, where you live now?" "Out in California. San Jose." "What are you doing out there?" "I'm a software developer. I work with a video game developer called Tempest." "I've heard of them. They make that shooter I suck at. Good game, but I'm just not that good at shooters. So what are you guys doing passing through Wisconsin?" "Grandpa died and Grandma decided to sell the house. Couldn't bear to put her in a nursing home, so she's moving in with me." "Well, isn't that something? You taking a scenic route?" "You could say that. You figured that out pretty quick." "I've been driving that truck for 5 years now. I know the highways pretty well. And the quickest way to San Jose ain't heading west on I-94 in the middle of Wisconsin." "Grandma wants to see the Mall of America and Mount Rushmore. And knowing her, she'll probably find something else on the way. I don't really know what route we'll end up taking." "Wow, I would love to do that. I always know what route I'm taking, and it's usually the same ones over and over, and mostly at night. That's what's frustrating about trucking. You see the country without seeing it. You pass so many interesting places and you don't have time to stop at half of them. I must have passed within 20 miles of the Grand Canyon a dozen times and never seen it. So you guys are rolling down the highway and Grandma here has to take a pee, and you just happen to pull into the J when that dirtball was taking a nap in his RV. Talk about timing." "That's pretty much how it happened. The girl was looking out the window and Grandma put two and two together pretty fast." "Well, I'm pretty impressed. I've been keeping my eye out everywhere I go and I never spotted one yet. My niece Trudy was nabbed by one of those outfits and she was missing for 2 years. Trucker spotted her captor in Casper of all places. She came back and she hasn't been the same since. Wakes up with nightmares half the time. Dude hoarded her out all over the country. Sometimes 5 or 6 guys in a night. I hate those traffickers. Oh, pardon my French." The last part added in response to Myrtle's disapproving stare. "Didn't sound like French to me," replied Myrtle. "Sorry, ma'am." No problem. You live to be my age, you've heard worse. Just watch it in front of the ladies, okay?" "Yes, ma'am. Say, you guys look pretty pooped. What do you say we head back and you can get your hotel and get some rest?" "Yeah, that sounds pretty good." They got back to the hotel and Mac handed Nathan a card. "Here's my cell number, and I'm on Facebook. Keep in touch, okay?" "Sure thing, Mac. Nice meeting you." They finally got in the car and drove over to the Comfort Inn. When they pulled in, there were 2 young men waiting to take their bags in for them. One of them said, "You must be the Callahans. We've been waiting for you. Just follow me." He put their bags on the cart and they followed him, stopping briefly at the front desk so Myrtle could hand the desk clerk a card with instructions to give it to Cassie when she got to her room. He opened the door to a suite, took their luggage in and said, "You need anything? Don't hesitate to call the front desk." Nathan stretched out with his iPad and was mindlessly browsing the internet while his exhausted grandmother collapsed onto the bed. Oh, Nate, that was the most eventful potty stop I've ever had. Yeah, it's all over the news around here. All the local news channels have the story online, and they're going to run it on the evening news. I won't be surprised if it goes national. Well, I'm past the age where I care about my 15 minutes of fame. What matters is that poor girl has her life back. But how she'll get over what was done to her, I'll never know. Such a sweet creature still for all that. I'll pray for her. Down the hall, that same young lady was sitting on the bed, talking on the phone with her mother and still wiping tears from her eyes, when there was a knock on the door. Hold on a second, Mama. Someone's knocking on the door. She went to the door and looked through the peephole. It was the clerk from the front desk. She opened the door and the clerk handed her an envelope and said, "This was left for you at the front desk." Cassie thanked him and locked the door before sitting down and resuming her conversation with her mother. She put the phone on speaker and set it down so she could open the envelope. She read the card while listening to her mother. The card read, "Dear Cassie, it broke my heart to hear what all you have been through recently. I pray that the Lord will give you comfort and that you will find great joy in returning to your family. I also heard you say you were working to save money for college, so please allow me to lend you a hand with that. God bless you, Myrtle Callahan." She was setting the card aside when she noticed that a piece of paper had fallen out of the card, and when she picked it up, she could hardly believe what she was seeing. It was a check made out to her in the amount of $20,000. "Oh my," she cried. "Is something wrong, dear?" asked her mother. "No, Mama. Nothing wrong," she said through her tears. "Nothing's wrong at all." Well, I hope you liked Chapter 8. If so, please like and subscribe. If you'd like information on my other works, you can check the links in the description below. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.